On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing 1 in 5 home buyers are looking to sell stocks to fund their down payment. What's that mean right now with all of the turmoil? First time home buyer regrets, what are they? And mortgage applications for the week. You won't believe these numbers. Today is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Live from Naples, Florida, this is the hot sheet. And do we have a turning point right now with these mortgage application numbers? We're going to get to that here. We've got a couple other things to jump into first, but mortgage application numbers that just were released are astonishing. So is this the turning point for housing? Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent said he said this on February 20th, that the housing market is about to unfreeze. Are we now seeing that in real time? There's probably a few cautionary flags here to suggest that we may not be. I'm going to break both sides of that down so we know what to expect. But let me know in the live chat, which market are you tuning in from here today, wherever you may be. Hope you're doing well. To get the most out of what we do here on BAM, jump into bamx.school.com/BAMX in a couple of weeks when we do BAM Fest, now bamfest.com to sign up for that. Big special guest. Never been on a real estate public stage before, been asked many times, hasn't done it. Now bamfest.com to sign up for that. But on that date, BAMX prices will be going up. If you're in. You're grandfathered in at your current rate. So don't wait for, over these next couple of weeks. Get into BAMX today. You get all of our content drops every single Friday, hot sheet show notes from this show, all the slides from this show, each and every single day, uploading to bamxschool.com/BAMX. Also sign up, obviously, for the free virtual event now, bamfest.com. All right. I do have, let's just start with, before we even start with topic one, let's just start with the reality of where we're starting this Wednesday. Every day, every 24-hour period lately feels like a month of data. It's like, I know, like iPhones and smartphones and all these things, like, over the last decade and a half, it's like, wow, we've got a supercomputer in our hand. The amount of information, conversations that we're able to have. I was talking to somebody on my team, and her son's in 6th grade, and starting to talk to girls and date, and date, like 6th grade dating, whatever that ever meant. But there's all these texts. She's like, I see all these text messages back and forth. Now her friends are chiming. I'm like, man, 6th grade, it used to be all notes. Like if you got 2 or 3 notes in a week, you were doing really well. You'd share the notes with your friend. You'd oh, look at what so-and-so said. Right now, these kids are like, they're up to 200, 300 conversations or back and forth messages in a week or less. And so the amount of information that we consume has been rapidly increasing over the recent years. But it seems like lately, the 24-hour windows, with as much volatility as we have in the markets, in the economy, with as much uncertainty, Jerome Powell's favorite word, a lot of people's favorite words right now, but as much uncertainty and volatility for sure that we have, every 24-hour period seems to take on a life of its own. Every 24-hour period seems to me like a whole week of data, a couple of weeks even of information. And today, starting off on a whole new playing field. 10-year yield is now, it spiked above 4.5. Okay. So if we look at where this 10-year yield is now, we're actually seeing it a little bit here cool off from the recent peak this morning, now at 4.376. 4.37 is essentially where we started right before all of this, Treasury stuff happened. This is exactly back to where we were before the Treasury drop. Okay, so I'll break down my thoughts on that. But if we just look at the last 6 months, we're getting back to kind of that mid-range level, well off of these lows that we just experienced, which were 4 and under 4. So we're back to kind of, where we started. What are, some of the reasons for this? Okay. The yield has rebounded where it was the day before the Trump plan was unveiled. And it's currently at the highest since February. So for those couple of days, I mean, we keep saying this, but like, consumers value speed, the speed in which agents and real estate advisors get the information of rates in the moment of time to their clients is everything. If you had a buyer who should have locked on Monday, today's too late. You cost them a half a point potentially. I mean, we might hit 7 today or near it. We might stay around the 685. 685 was the number yesterday. Consumers value speed. The speed in which you operate here in this housing market in particular, with the volatility and the changes, is everything. You've got to be fast in this market to keep up. And the information, the data is changing rapidly. Okay. So there was a flight to safety initially. 10-year dropped, actually dropped under 4. And commonly when you see downturn fears, a stock market sell-off, economic downturn fears, hey, a market sell-off and rising economic downturn would normally cause investors to clamor onto bonds for safety, driving the yields lower. That's what we initially saw. But now we're seeing that is not happening. Over the last 24 hours, the 10-year has completely reversed course. It's back to where it was just the day before all of the tariff drama. Okay, so couple ways to think about that. I'm hearing more and more, like Jamie Dimon's out there today. He's going to be a big, name, and saying, oh, recession fears are up. I mean, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, very incentivized for obviously driving recession fears so that either Jerome Powell or the administration capitulates and stock market rebounds. We can see when there's just a little shred of information. We saw it within the last day or so. When there's a shred of information that says, oh, there's going to be negotiations. We saw it yesterday. We saw how fast some of these stocks come back up. It seems to me that most of these asset management CEOs, I was just listening to a conversation on CNBC early this morning with the Apollo management CEO. This is somebody who was potentially going to be in line for Scott Bessent's role of Secretary of Treasury, and said, listen, actually, I took some notes down. Let me grab those notes. This is Mark Rowan, Apollo Global Management CEO. Three takeaways here from what he said. The short-term disruption. The CNBC guy always wants, the guy from CS, Andrew, he always wants to have people get, fearful and get crazed up. So his questions are kind of in that direction, because the first thing Mark Rowan, CEO of Apollo Global Management, said is short-term disruption. Basically saying this is going to pass. What we're dealing with now, going to pass. Whether that means he believes there's negotiations, it's kind of what he alluded to. There's going to be solutions, what have you. Saying, hey, this is short-term and it's going to pass. So on the back end, some of these big-time money management CEOs and executives are kind of in that camp. Well, if they're in that camp, then maybe they're not buying 10-year treasuries. Maybe they're doing the Warren Buffett, just holding cash ready to pounce back into the market. When that kind of ride that we seen just a couple days ago, just within the last day, happens, when there's the short-term disruption has passed. Okay. Number two, he said, long term, his concern is, what does this do to the U.S. brand? What is, this the way tariffs were rolled out, what does it do to the U.S. brand? He has a concern there. Okay. Doesn't agree with he agrees with resetting. Interestingly enough, he agrees with resetting global trade has to be done. He says the administration has the right ambitions there. The way this is rolled out, he disagrees with and has concerned about long-term U.S. brand. Number three, if we have an accident, meaning the administration, whatever, kind of goes too far and puts us into a recession, there's a concern there. His plan would be to take care of Canada, Mexico, then Europe, and kind of leave China for last. That's what he said. But some of these other smaller countries he didn't really mention. But the four big trading partners he walked through. So right now, this is going to be something that's going to put more pressure than the stock market moving down on this administration than anything else. Their big goal was to get the 10-year down. It was moving in that direction. 30-year fixed was following. Not the case today as we sit here. So in a funny spot, and we'll see how they respond. Again, every 24-hour period kind of takes a life of its own. Redfin, kind of jumping on the stock news, says that 1 in 5 home buyers expect to sell stocks to fund their down payment. This is a survey that was done. So this is before tariffs went into effect and all of that. So I actually think, timing is important. This number might be lower if you ask somebody now today with their portfolio, down 12%. If they're invested in the S&P 500, that would be the number, right? 1 in 5 prospective home buyers expect to sell stocks. It's about 1,800 people that they surveyed to fund their next down payment. If you already own a home, roughly 1 in 8, 13% of homeowners report selling stocks to fund their down payment of their next home. 1 in 10 homeowners have sold stocks to help afford their mortgage payments. To me, that's more concerning than anything, really. It's like selling stock to pay the mortgage. Were you waiting for refi? Were you marrying the house and dating the rate, and the rate has not cooperated, and now you're selling stock? I don't like that number if it's if that's accurate. Again, this is a survey, and it's a survey done by Redfin at that. So I kind of gotta take it a little bit in stride here. 1 in 10 seems high. If that number is accurate across the board, not just this 1,800 sampling, that's interesting. That 1 in 10 homeowners have to sell stocks or have in the past sold stocks to help afford their mortgage payments. Tells you where the economy, while Jerome Powell is going to tell you it's strong, 4.2% unemployment rate, adding 200,000+ jobs. We covered that. Inflation moving down, GDP going up, strong economy. Yeah. For who? Okay. If 1 out of 10 homeowners are selling stocks to afford mortgage payments, we know 4 out of 10 homeowners don't have a mortgage payment. So does that mean 1 out of 6 who have a mortgage, or is this just mortgaged homeowners? All right. Renters are less likely to use stock investments for their housing payments. Just 6% of renters have sold stock to afford rent. I would say renters are much less likely to even own a stock. And so that would be, kind of how I would also look at that. But 1 out of 5 prospective homeowners planning to sell stock for their down payment. This, if accurate, this is just a survey. If accurate, this means that there will be downward pressure on home buying season the longer that stocks stay down. I mean, if the stock portfolio moves down 12% and that buyer was like, I'm going to pull for my down payment, it's like, I don't really want to pull anymore. I kind of want to wait. You'll see some of that. Some people do it anyway. I don't like, this is not financial advice, but I don't think it's great to advise or for a buyer to go and sell stocks to afford their house, like pull, pay a penalty on stocks. There's all these different ways you could sell a stock. Obviously, if you were just like, I don't want to keep cash in a savings and I've put this into, some type of ETF or what have you, that makes sense to me. But like pulling out of a 401k for the down payment of the house makes a lot less sense to me, because the penalty involved. I just had a little bit of a conversation about this on the Real Word podcast and put a clip out about, Grant Cardone talking about some of this stuff. He's a advocate of like, oh, take the penalty. Why would you want to wait till you're 63 anyways? I mean, there's a reason people are investing into the stock market. And anyways, 1 out of 5 expected to sell stocks. If that's true, that's going to put downward pressure on home buying season on a week where we saw mortgage applications, which we're going to get to in just a second, absolutely explode. Before we do that, let's just take a look at some of the recent home buyers, first-time home buyers, and what they might be going through. Okay. First-time home buyer nightmares, according to guardianservice.com, include regrets, challenges, and lessons learned. Here are the key takeaways from this survey of just over 1,000 homeowners, first-time homeowners, used to uncover the most common regrets and mistakes. Here are the key takeaways. Okay. 31% of first-time home buyers experience buyer remorse after buying their first home, and 9% felt like they shouldn't have bought it at all. I think that's, I think that's probably going to be the case a lot, no matter what. Not just in this time frame. I know the first home I bought, obviously during the ninja times, no income, no job required to buy homes. It wasn't long after buying it that I regretted it. I thought the crappy neighborhood I bought was going to change overnight. It only got worse over the years. Yeah. So, I mean, you're a first time home buyer. If, you're not working with an exceptional buyer representative, as the agent, and you're really not focused on location. I always talk to buyers about like, just buy on location, man. Just like the house is so secondary to location. It's not even funny. Then there's going to be remorse, because location solves the problems of like, man, do I regret this? Well, if I've got a phenomenal location that somebody's going to love in the future, I can always sell it. If I just bought a phenomenal house and not in a great location, then I'm going to have a hard time finding somebody else that wants it. So 38% of first-time home buyers felt pressure to make a home buying decision, and those who felt pressured were nearly 3 times more likely to experience buyer remorse. Where's that pressure coming from? Okay. If you're working with a first-time home buyer, I might acknowledge that, hey, you may be feeling pressure from friends, family members, or just kind of where you are in life to buy. Don't feel that pressure as we're going out and looking at homes, right? I understand you want to buy, if you're showing them 10 houses, you want to buy one of them. I get all that, right? But you're not going to have a relationship that lasts as them choosing you as your agent for life. If you're the person applying the pressure to buy, hey, don't feel that pressure. This deal's got to be right. Okay. Here's how we ensure, here's my plan. How do we ensure this deal is going to be right for you based on your goals and what you've shared with me? Overwhelm, stress, nervousness, buyers. By the way, these are some of the reasons why AI isn't going to take your job anytime soon. Overwhelm, stress, nervous, uncertainty. Okay. Before the last 3-4 days of the uncertain stock market, I hadn't talked to my, my investment planner for months. No reason to. Times of uncertainty, we've talked a few times. There's been some conversations. This is a very stressful time, people buying homes. This is why I always say, agents, your job is to absorb emotions, be non-emotional. Agents have got to be non-emotional. Attorneys should do the same thing. Lenders should do the same thing. Be non-emotional through the process. Absorb somebody's emotions like a sponge. Well, I don't want to do that. That sounds like I'm carrying a lot of weight. Okay, not the job for you. Carry the weight on your shoulders. That's the job. because they're the ones that are overwhelmed, stressed, nervous. They're the ones that are taking the risk on the mortgage. They're the ones pulling the money out of the stock market and buying a house, or they're the ones selling the dirt and the wood. Their house, their asset, their risk, they, client, consumer. It's all about them. Your job is to be the person doing the hard work. And part of that hard work is absorbing these things into your soul so they don't have to walk around with it. The overwhelm, stress, and nervousness. It provides opportunity for your job to exist long into the future. And it provides opportunity for us to be valuable long into the future. Invaluable to those who are going through the process. 17% of first-time home buyers skipped a home inspection. I mean, this is something I think that's gone up over the last number of years. Under 50,000 annually were most likely to do so. Those earning under 50,000 annually were most likely to do so because, listen, those are earning under 50,000 annually are competing at very, low end of the market, and that low end of the market, it's where the most competition is. And so then, I mean, this is where I think that lower end of the market needs more representation than ever before because of the competition. And we're not going to solve that inventory problem in that side of the market. To not move forward with an inspection on some of those homes. I mean, you get into Northeast, you get into homes that are like sub $400,000. You're getting into homes that are old, that aren't anywhere close to today's standard codes, those kind of things. At times, some old homes can be very well built and some can need a lot of work, and to not pass through an inspection there is kind of crazy. We've got some of the data and slides here from this inside of BAMX. Go to school.com/BAMX to get in. If BAMX members, just go down to your hot sheet classroom in the classroom tab, and you can grab this right here at your fingertips today. First-time home buyers experiencing buyer's remorse. 7 out of 10 are not. So that's the flip side of that. And here's that number we just said: 50,000 annually. 50,000 more likely to have that buyer's remorse than those earning over 100,000. So kind of acknowledge that when you're working with newer or just starting out, or lower side of the price category in your market buyers. Gen Z and millennials are the ones that are most likely to have that buyer remorse their first time, and first time making obviously a purchase of that size. Here are the biggest home buyer regrets: underestimated the repair cost, too small or too big of a home, rushed the decision. Okay. Our communication, our ability to get information, our ability to take the meeting first, it's crucial. Consumers value speed. Doesn't need to be ADHD once we're in the deal. Okay. I understand there's competitive situations and we need to make timely decisions. Being able to absorb that ADHD, that anxiety, that nervousness, so that they don't rush through. Making sure they understand their outs so that they feel comfortable moving forward is critical for an agent to be able to articulate. They feel like they didn't negotiate well. Another opportunity there for agents really to show, what's my negotiation process? Here's my framework for negotiations. Bought in the wrong location, took on too much debt, paid too much for the home, skipped a home inspection is the lowest on the list there. And then you've got this one here: logic and emotions when buying a first home. Wanted to stop renting, 63%. Just, hey, I wanted to pay my mortgage and not somebody else's. Makes sense to me. Grant Cardone. Family planning, 48%. Needed more space, 39%. Investment opportunity, 22%. Peer and social pressure, Thankfully, that is the bottom of the list. But hey, I need to, it's time to stop renting. I'm planning for the family. I need more space. Probably also can put that in the family bucket. That's what's kept us around 4 million sales here, thankfully, the last couple of years, as opposed to sinking even further, is the fact that those life situations happen. Here are the structural and financial pitfalls of first-time home buyers. 66% first timers experience unexpected home issues. Here's something I would tell every single home buyer. Okay, when you're going through the finances of what it takes to be a homeowner, they're looking at mortgage insurance and taxes. Okay. And a lot of times it's obviously all going to be included in one payment if they're pulling a mortgage. The thing I don't think enough agents are talking about is the cost of being a homeowner. And I'm not talking about improvements, renovations, thing that increase the value. I'm talking about just maintaining your value. Depending on the home, 1 to 3% of the home's value should be put back into the home every single year. You ever get to a house, they bought it with you 10 years ago. Now you're going to sell it. And you're like, man, I can't wait to sell this house. It was stunning, a beautiful place. And they didn't put 1 to 3% of just typical home maintenance. They let the landscaping fade. They never saw a paintbrush in 10 years and didn't hire anyone to bring one over. They didn't seal the driveway. They let the driveway and the curbing go to crap. They haven't changed the appliances in 10 years. Now, none of that stuff would increase value. Sealing your driveway doesn't increase value. Maintaining landscaping doesn't increase value. Having a maintenance checkup on your HVAC annually doesn't increase value. Swapping out a fridge because it's 10 years old doesn't necessarily increase value. It's expected. And so those 1 to 3% back in the home, and not talking renovation to increase value, that's the conversation that more people should be having with home buyers. But 66% of first-time home buyers experience an unexpected home issue after buying. Now, you could just have an HVAC go. Okay, that's not getting it fixed isn't going to increase your value. It's mandatory. 17% of these first-time home buyers, again, skip that inspection. Cosmetic repairs. Okay, most common unexpected home issues, just cosmetic, like how much it costs to keep your house looking the way it did before you closed. Cosmetic repairs. I mean, you've got, maybe you just bought your first home, you have a home welcoming party. Maybe it's a new couple, doesn't have kids, and all of a sudden after the home welcoming party, they're rethinking kids because their sister brought over 3 little ones and they rubbed their dirty hands all over the wall. Now they got a cosmetic repair because it didn't wash off. It smudged, and now they got to paint it. That's an unexpected cost. Plumbing goes, electrical, structural, unexpected costs here for some of these first-time home buyers. These are all in your hot sheet classroom, by the way. These are great for sending these out to the buyer list, your database, doing something on social on a green screen, something like that. First-time home buyers wish they knew before making the purchase the true cost of home ownership. That's what I'm talking about, educating them on. That 1 to 3% maintenance that goes in, that's the true cost of home ownership. Not enough people are having that conversation. What would first-time home buyers do differently? And it would just be, it's buy a different home. It's be more financially prepared before buying it so they could probably afford the right home. Negotiate more aggressively on the repairs. Okay. That is something I think agents can become better at, helping them understand the difference between just being, aggressively shooting bullets out there and actually, how far you can take some of these things and what you can negotiate more aggressively on. All right. So there's your regrets there from first-time home buyers. All those slides, pretty slides, uploaded into your classroom, your hot sheet classroom inside of BAMX School for Members. All right, mortgage applications. This to me is the biggest news. It's the biggest news because the last couple of days we've seen mortgage applications go or mortgage rates, go back up into the high sixes, almost at 7%, 6.85 yesterday. But we're looking at the data ending for the week of April 4th. That was a very good week as rates were going down, moving in the right direction. Mortgage applications increased 20% from 1 week earlier. I can't remember the last time we saw 20% increase. That would include refinances, which jumped up 35%. Every time we get close to 6.5%, 6.6, we see significant increases on mortgage applications and refinances. Refinances were 93% higher than the same week just 1 year ago. Now, what do we care about? The purchase from the week prior increased 9%, and we're in April. This means the next 30, 60, 90 days of home buying season is going to be good, okay? Because these are future sales, all right? 24% higher than the same week just a year ago on mortgage applications. I don't expect the same thing next week, unfortunately, with where the 10 years has gone. That's why when I say, like, speed is important, get that information out to the home buyers. We might have missed it here, okay? But that was last week. Logan is talking about this right here. Hey, another positive week, super positive, but that should end next week. Okay, so I hope it doesn't swing so far the other direction next week. This is the tweet he was responding to, which I thought was interesting. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, back on February 28th said, I would expect that the housing market sometime in the next few weeks is going to unfreeze. Think about the end of February. What did he know was coming? Okay. This is somebody saying 30-year mortgages back above 7%. Well, we haven't seen that quite yet. We might see that today. Back to 6.85. We may see it back up over 7% today. That'd be super unfortunate. But back on February 28th, what was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent? Why was he saying this a month ago? Sometime in the next few weeks, which would have been last week, expect the housing market to unfreeze. Well, what happened last week? Rates in the 10-year started to move down. The administration's ambition here is for that 10-year to move down. Scott Bessent's been very vocal on that. Interesting. That he knew the tariff thing was coming. Hey, his expectation was that would move down, that the rates were going to move down. We saw that for a couple days, and the housing market would unfreeze. I mean, with this mortgage application data that we just took a look at, I mean, this is the best we've seen on mortgage applications in some time. I mean, we're actually getting, instead of saying 95, we could say 97, 98. We could say doing a little bit better than 14, 15. We haven't been able to say that. Okay. A little bit, but maybe a touch better than some of those recovery years. And, a touch better maybe than 95. We're still kind of at those levels, but we're heading in the right direction. I mean, the unfreezing was happening, a 20% jump in mortgage application. Now we're going to see more downward pressure because of this, because the 10-year Treasury is not once again cooperating. We saw this sharp increase, and we've seen it in the past. That's why we saw it back in October. It's why we saw it in December. It's why it's important for buyers to take advantage when these moments of opportunity come. But the Treasury Secretary believed it would unfreeze. We'll see. We'll see what happens next week with obviously the mortgage applications when we get another reading. CME Group is flip-flopping here a little bit. This number was just an hour ago the complete opposite of what it is right now. It was 60-40 the other direction. 60 that they were going to do a cut in May. Now it's 40% that they'll do a cut. Might get a little bit of relief. Bessent might If they do cut, the administration wants to put pressure on the Fed to cut. No indications from Jerome Powell that they will cut. More likely that it'll be a wait and see how this plays out. Okay, what's one of the reasons here before we sign off on, why is there just like, not so much uncertainty. Obviously, we know why there's uncertainty, but I would actually ask, why is there so much heightened fear of the stock market going down 12%? When you look at these numbers, like shouldn't it just kind of be a natural recorrection? This is the currency here. This currency level look at this, since 2020, how much of the currency we've actually printed. If you just take that U.S. currency since 2020, just Google that for yourself. Just start like looking at, actually, here's another chart that really shows it. This is 2020. This is the money supply. And this was back in 2023. Obviously, we've been printing since then. Okay. Let me get back to that somehow. Hold on. I don't want to see Jeff Bezos right now. I like Jeff Bezos, it's fine, but not right now. Okay, we've printed nearly 80% of all U.S. dollars in circulation. Start of 2020, we had 4 trillion in circulation. Now there's 19 trillion, 375% jump in 3 years. And we're going absolutely insane that the stock market's down 12%. That this money is, it's almost, it's not real, right? It's just like, it's all this money getting pumped in is kind of not real. So, to have this much fear over a stock market going down 12%, we should have been fearful about printing 80% of the money in a 4-year period in US dollars. That's put everything in what we're in the middle of right now. That's put everything into motion. Having to reset global trade, having to maybe manufacture a man-made recession. I don't want it. I don't want to make these decisions either, right? What we can't do is just continue to do this forever. And so, that's ultimately what we're in the middle of. I think this is one of the reasons why there's not the auction demand that, with the uncertainty tariffs have brought, that they would expect on 10-year treasuries. If there was auction demand on the 10-year treasuries, that means there's more people believing in the long-term future. But when you're carrying this much debt, which the U.S. is, there might not be that long-term demand that we expected there was a couple of years ago when we saw the 10-year going down. The other thing to think about that is there's some this might be a way for foreign governments to kind of get back at the administration selling some of those treasuries right now. Problem is, for those countries, they're not going to sell them all. Where's the money going to go? But there might be a little bit of that happening, particularly with China, to say, hey, look at long-term rates are not moving up. So a lot happening. We'll continue to cover it here on the hot sheet, as we do every Monday through Thursday, in which markets are open 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Look forward to seeing a whole bunch of you guys inside of BAM X. Get in now before BAM Fest, so you get grandfathered in at the current rate before it moves up in a couple of weeks at BAM Fest. Now, bamfest.com to sign up for that. All right, guys. Sign up for the virtual event, school.com/BAMX, of course, sign up for BAMX. All right, that's your hot sheet here. Hope everybody has a great Wednesday. We'll see you guys back tomorrow. Until then, toodaloo.